This is a pretty unfortunate but common sight on my property here. Gopher damaged trees. This is a bare root tree that I planted a few years ago. It was growing great. It was a peach tree. This winter I found it, walked by it, kind of hit it, it fell over, pull it out, I'm left with a stub. Gophers had taken it out. Been a huge area of loss on my property on the 5 years that I've been here. I've lost a lot of time in these trees, having gophers take them out. I'm losing that growing time because now I essentially have to start over with a new tree if I want to plant another peach tree. I've lost a lot of money. These aren't cheap. You know, these are maybe $12 to $20 a piece depending on where you're buying them. And it's really frustrating. It kills a lot of the emotional enthusiasm that goes along with planting stuff. If all the stuff you're planting is dying or gophers are getting it, you can only do that so long before you either got to find a solution or you just give it up. So I'm going to talk about one of the big lessons that I've learned here regarding trees like this, and it's being penny wise, pound foolish. As I said, a tree like this probably costs $12 to $20. I bought one yesterday that I'm going to be putting in at Home Depot. This was $18. This is an apple tree. In the past, I would have just bought this apple tree, plopped it straight in the ground, said if the gophers get it, they get it. I don't want to do that anymore. It's too frustrating, as I said. There's a lot of loss involved. In the hillside where it's going to be going here, it is riddled with gophers. I can look around and probably within a 10-foot circle of me, there's probably 20 gopher mounds at least. I can't trap them all. And that's one of the strategies to gopher mitigation, but really the ultimate solution to gophers is there's not one ultimate solution. It's a variety of solutions. You have to try and control them in whatever means you see fit in your context, and you also have to try and be proactive and protect the plants themselves. So now, what I'm going with are these 5-gallon wire cages. I really like them a lot. This is $6 at Home Depot for one of these. And they also make a 1-gallon size. This is a 2-pack, and this is about $6 as well. Again, at Home Depot. These I use for my tomatoes as a matter of necessity. This has been a game changer for me in terms of tomatoes. When I used to plant tomatoes on my upper hill, I'd lose at least 50% of them throughout the season. Big 3-foot tall plants just sucked right into the ground overnight during the day. The loss was frustrating beyond belief. Finally, I decided I'm gonna buy these. For a $3 investment, something that'll last years and years and years, I think it's well worth it. Because $3, I'm gonna pull more than $3 of food off of that tomato plant. So just the food itself from this year pays for these cages themselves when it comes to tomatoes, and over time the amortization of those costs goes to zero. You use them for 10 seasons, the cost of those per season is really nothing given the amount of fruit that you're pulling off. Same thing with trees. If you think about it, this is a $6 item right here to protect the trees. The tree itself cost $18, so 1/3 of the cost of the tree is right here. Now I would have said $18, I'm not going to spend $6 on this thing before, and as a result, here's another tree that I've lost. I've lost a lot of trees. It's not fun. So if you think about how to approach this, here's what I would do on my property, and here's what I am doing on my property, because again, I've wasted a lot of money on trees. Knowing that these are about 1/3 of the cost of the tree, just reduce the number of trees that you're going to be buying by 1/3. Allocate that portion of your tree budget to tree protection. If money isn't an object, I know it is for a lot of people, that's how I would approach it. If money isn't an object, well then just buy these for every tree. But where I got hung up in the past was the $6 cage. It's a waste of money, it's too much money. What I needed to do was kind of change my line of thinking and say, I'll just buy less trees and buy the cage. That way my overall budget isn't going up. I'm still spending the same amount of money, but I'm making a better long-term investment because I'm buying the protection for the trees to make sure that the trees last a long time. Similarly, on a tree like this apple, if this lives to be 20 years old, conservatively, how much is this $6 purchase going to be worth over 20 years, or how much of that cost is going to be factored in over 20 years? If this lasts 20 years in the ground and protects that tree so it gets big enough to produce for that long, This $6 just amortizes it off again to nothing. It's no cost in the long scheme of things. So I've made a lot of trees mistakes in the past on my property. Predator protection from gophers is one of them. Planting in poor soils is another. Lack of watering is another. And not respecting seasonality is the fourth mistake that I've made when it comes to trees. I'll do videos on those other three at some point in the future, but the big takeaway today, don't be Pennywise, pound foolish. Protect your investment. Spend the money on the digger's 5-gallon root guard or the 1-gallon size. It's worth the investment. In fact, I just think I heard a gopher pop up right there. Like I said, they're all over here. There's no birds. It had to have been a gopher. You can hear them rustling. Protect the trees. Digger's 5-gallon root guard. They also have the 2-pack of the 1 gallons. $6 for the pack. Well worth it. If you want the trees long-term on your property, if you have a lot of gopher problems like we do in Southern California, this works. One thing to do though, when you plant them, make sure that you're planting on this green section, keeping this above ground here. If it's too close to the ground, the gophers will just go over it and get the tree. You need it high enough to discourage them from climbing over. So gopher problems, go for the cages. It's worth the money when you consider the long-term value of the trees, the amount of fruit that you're going to be pulling off those trees, and the loss of time that you may suffer when a tree like this has been in the ground for 3 years and then it's eaten. And now those 3 years are wasted. So get the cages. It's well worth it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.